Welcome back to the channel. Who doesn't love a good top 5 list? And it's still January, so you know what that means. We are going to be talking about my top 5 reads of 2021. Now, if you've been watching my more recent videos, you'll know I went through a little bit of a reading slump. And by little, I mean a lot. There were a lot of things going on that had to do with it, but basically from about April to December, no reading was done, which is unfortunate. I love reading, obviously, but reading slumps do happen from time to time, and it was kind of a crazy year for me. We spent a lot of that time moving into a new house and looking for that house. So yeah. But anyways, I did read, I think, 19 or 20 books last year. So it was not as much as I would have liked, obviously, but the books I did read were very, very good. So just starting off with some disclosures, there will only be one book per series. So obviously, if you've been watching a lot of my videos, you'll know I am a gigantic Malazan fan. So I can't just put 5 Malazan books in here. Only one from Book of the Fallen, and those were the only Erikson works I've read. I didn't get into the Ice novels or The God Is Not Willing until just a few weeks ago. So those do not fall under 2021. So without any further ado, let's get into the list here. So coming in at number 5, a read I was very pleasantly surprised with. I had heard good things about it, but it still beat my expectations. And that is Evan Winter's Rage of Dragons. One of my goals in 2021 was to read more self-published. I do know that this was a book originally self-published. It has since been picked up by, you guessed it, Orbit. But to me, that still falls under the same umbrella. I just wanted to see what self-published authors kind of had to offer. And just because it was so successful that I got picked up by a publisher, more power to them. But like I said, very pleasantly surprised with that one. If you're looking for a fast-paced, and I mean fast, like lightning quick paced definition of a page turner, action-packed, original story, that it's definitely a book for you. I'd recommend picking it up. African fantasy is not something we see a lot of in the genre, and Evan Winters did a tremendous job crafting and creating such a unique feeling world, and really his bread and butter was the combat sequences, the action-packed, and just the lightning quick pace that he sets, and he never lets up. He never lets up at all. It is lightning quick from front to back. I am really excited. Actually, right as I was getting into my reading slump, I did pick up the second entry. I think that he's planning on doing a trilogy for this. Don't quote me on that though. But the second installment is out. I think it's called Fires of Vengeance. I did start to read that, just like 20 pages or so. And then obviously I went on a bit of a reading slump, which happens. We're going to try and avoid that this year, but this is not my goals video. This is my top 5 reads video. So let's go into the next entry. And I actually don't have a physical copy because, having mentioned moving, a lot of my books are still in boxes. And I did dig through quite a few boxes to get some of the books that I have here. But my next entry, number 4, is The Stand. I have the physical copy somewhere. I just need to track it down. It's in a box somewhere. But The Stand, if you watch my review on that one, you'll know I call it a complicated relationship with The Stand. I haven't read very much Stephen King at all. The first Stephen King novel I read was The Shining, and that is one of the best books I've ever read, full stop. So that was and I had heard that a lot of people prefer The Stand over The Shining. So I think my expectations were too high, to be honest. It was obviously really good because it made my top 5. So yeah, didn't live up to The Shining, which set a very, very high bar for me. Maybe that was just setting myself up for failure, if you will, but really it's more a victim. I think if I reread The Stand, I will enjoy it a lot more. It's a victim of circumstance. I started reading it right before the pandemic, all the way back in 2020. and I got about 200 pages in, and then the pandemic hit, and we all had to work from home, and I was like, this just really isn't like what I want to read right now. It's not really a great escape, not lighthearted like what I was looking for, obviously, with everything going on in the world at the time. So I shelved it, and I think I actually was about 300 pages into it, but so I shelved it, and then I ended up coming back to it back in 2021. Obviously, pandemic's still going on, but I was it became, part of everyday life. I wasn't so much, I was comfortable coming back to the story, which I did. I didn't reread those first 300, 400 pages, which probably plays into my review. And that's why I said I have a complicated relationship with it. So I didn't do it any favors by any means. Reading it during a pandemic, I know some people are into that. Like, I'm sure the sales went up for it when the pandemic hit, but that not really what I wanted to read during the time. What I will say, obviously, there were things I loved about the book. Stephen King's character work is second to none. But just in the context of my life at the time and the circumstances, it wasn't really clicking with me, although I love the characters, but the story itself, the plot, wasn't really what I was looking for. And I put that mostly on me, not at all on Stephen King, obviously. So very, very good book. Still comes in at number 4, because even with all that going against it, I still thoroughly enjoyed it, just not as much as I think I would have if I read it 3 years ago, or maybe 3 years from now. So I do look forward to revisiting The Stand, but it's not on my radar to reread anytime soon. Like I said, maybe 3-4 years, give it some time, and come back to it. I'm sure I'll have a more favorable opinion on it then. But anyways, if you want to check out my review, I will hopefully remember to link it up above, so you can go check that out, learn even more about my complicated relationship with The Stand. So then coming in at number 3 is going to be the tremendous conclusion to the Red Rising trilogy, and that's obviously Morningstar. This series, I came in with very little expectations, which may have a reason why it gets ranked above The Stand. The Stand expectations were working against it. Red Rising, not so much. I didn't expect much from the series. The first installment, Red Rising, I liked, but I didn't love. And I have reviews for all 3 of them on the channel, so you can check those out. But the more I read it, the second one was amazing, Golden Sun. The stakes in this series are incredibly high. Another one of my goals of 2021 was to read more sci-fi. That's how it originally got on my radar. I feel like this does is a tremendous installment for the genre as a whole. Really exemplifies what sci-fi has to offer, and like I said, the stakes, Pierce Brown are so high. Pierce Brown is not afraid to pull any punches. The plot itself is gripping. The characters are captivating, and the twists and turns along the way. Really, this is an endorsement for the whole series, the trilogy, but especially Morningstar encapsulates everything that series has to offer. And the twists and turns and the ending was so satisfying. Had to put it on my list. It comes in at number 3. And really the bar I set for a book is, if I finish a book or a series and I just need to not do anything, not be on my phone, not pick up another book, just sit by myself thinking about a book for anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour, that to me is a sign to myself that I really enjoyed it. Really made me think, and basically I'm just going through processing what happened in that book. I think when I do that, my wife thinks I'm crazy, but yeah, that's a sign to myself that oh wow, that book is really, really good. So, and obviously Malazan scratches, or pretty much every Malazan book makes me do that, which is why it's my favorite series, but we're not there yet. Number 2 coming in is Terry Pratchett's Small Gods, my introduction to the Discworld series. I read a lot of reviews on where to start, because I think there's 30 something Discworld books out at this point. And everyone kind of recommended, hey, Small Gods as a standalone is a tremendous place to start. And I can thoroughly say it met all my expectations and more. If you're looking for an absurdly, and nobody does absurdity better than Terry Pratchett, I would highly recommend picking up not just Small Gods, but Discworld as a whole. They're tremendously funny, especially if you like British humor, you'll love it. But they're tremendously fun. Great little palate cleansers. I don't think any of the Discworld books are very thick. And if they are, they certainly read very, very fast. So, yeah, just incredibly happy with Small Gods. Just an incredibly fun book. One of my plans for 2022 is to try and read some more Discworld, because having read this and how good it was, I then went and picked up Mort, which is, if you know anything about Discworld, it's the first installment in Terry Pratchett's Death series. And this is not an endorsement for Mort, because that's not on the list, but I will say Mort would have made my top 5 if I could have done more than one from the series. But unfortunately, that's the only Discworld I've read, is Small Gods and Mort. I actually just started reading to do some palate cleansing with all the Malazan I've been reading. I just started up Reaper Man, which is the second in the Death series. And like I said, Small Gods was a standalone, but Death, I think, has about 6 books. And that character, I'm rambling because Mort's not on this list, but Terry Pratchett's Death, you'll hear this from everybody who's read it. Nobody writes a better character for Death than Terry Pratchett. That's all I'll say. If you haven't read Discworld, go check it out. At the very least, because they're quick reads, so no harm in giving it a shot. And with no surprise, we have at number 1 a Malazan book, and to no one's shock, it is The Crippled God, the most epic conclusion to a series that I was nervous to finish because of how high the highs were. I thought, oh man, if this ending somehow... I had full faith in Erickson, who am I kidding? But if for whatever reason the ending disappointed, it would have been soul-crushing. I can tell you, if you haven't read Malazan, The Crippled God doesn't leave anybody disappointed. I haven't heard anybody say that the conclusion to Book of the Fallen, Malazan Book of the Fallen, left them wanting more. It leaves me speechless, because it is the conclusion to a series like no other. Nothing I've ever read comes close to Malazan for me. Just how grand and sweeping and gigantically epic the scale is of everything, all the characters, just tremendous. I can't talk enough about it, but I have a lot of videos at this point, and a lot more planned coming, so I won't speak too much on it, because there are endorsements all over my channel for Malazan Book of the Fallen. But if you're thinking you might want to start it, I'd encourage you to do so. I actually just started my reread of Book of the Fallen. I'm starting with, obviously, Gardens of the Moon, and I have the first video out for that, covering part 1 of that Pale. Really in-depth reread. I really want to tackle Malazan and really sink my teeth in, more than just surface level. Not that the first read left me anything but satisfied, but yeah. So if you're looking for more Malazan content, stay tuned, like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Before I go, though, what I'll say is, if you've heard me talk about the series as a whole, you'll know my favorite is actually Memories of Ice. I read that in 2020, though, not 2021. So as good as The Crippled God is, my ranking, Memories of Ice, because that is full stop the best book I've ever read, followed by The Crippled God. But I did not read Memories of Ice in 2021. All right, now I'm actually out of here.